Animation happens slowly over such a long period of time, and you're there on the day. You have got to get everything, and it's all about collaboration, particularly with the actors. That was it's something I've done before, but it's different. It's more immediate. I keep saying that word, but you only have the day to get everything. So there's a lot more interaction, I think, in the best way possible.
Thank you for the compliment in that question. It was definitely, I had an incredible partner here in Kris. And early on, I asked him why he thought of me for the role of Roz, and he mentioned that he liked the warmth of my voice. So we knew that we were going to end up with a Roz that sounded more like me, to kind of depict that evolution she's gone through. And then we kind of like reverse engineered. I was inspired by the automated voices of Alexa and Siri, and the voices on TikTok and Instagram. And in looking at those, what was similar in all of them was this kind of like optimistic brightness. So after a lot of trial and error, okay, we had many versions of Roz, and that's the beauty of doing it over 2.5 years, is that as the script develops, so does the voice. So in the end, we ended up with that sort of like programmed optimism to start her off. And we had these markers in the script of when and how Roz's voice is evolving to show how she's adapting to her new environment.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for the kind words. For me, as far as inspiration, I started this film shortly after I became a dad. My daughter was only about maybe 5 months old when we had our first meeting. And by the time I was finishing, she was in the terrible twos. It's a very different experience. But in those couple of years, just how much I was not only examining my own relationship with her and what it felt like to become a parent, and how many things I and my wife felt, similar to Roz's learning how to do that, but also just looking at my appreciation for my own parents, my own mother, and looking at that sacrifice, looking at the sacrifice of my wife. And so much of the emotion in this story that's so palpable and involuntarily brings up these visceral emotions for me. We're just also mirroring so many things I was already thinking about so much in my own life. One sequence in particular I think about is the migration sequence, and there's a cue that we worked on for a long time, and my first pass at it was really bright and happy, and Kris reminded me about the fact that this is this really bittersweet moment where Roz is saying goodbye to Bright Bill, and they don't know if they're going to see each other ever again, and they're not saying I love you, and they're not saying those things, and what would that feel like? And I hadn't even thought of the depth of that experience and what that would be like with my own daughter, and Kris was reminding me of what that experience might be like with my own daughter, and I just remember going back after that conversation with him and writing that piece of music, and it just kind of coming out of me very naturally because of how much the emotion was just kind of top of mind.